Hey, welcome back to Buckeye Barbecue. Today we're at the Buckeye Barbecue camp and we're going to do some beef back ribs. Ohio State plays tonight, so I'm looking forward to that game. So best of luck to whatever teams you're rooting for today as well. But let's get started on these ribs. If you don't know a lot about back ribs from the cow, they are essentially equivalent to the baby back ribs on a pig. The ribeye steaks are attached to one side. You really don't find these very often, but if you can, they're great. I got these from Porter Road, so it's kind of a small rack. Usually there's not a ton of meat on them. I'm actually pretty pleased with the amount of meat on these, but usually they want to cut them as close to the bone as possible to get as much meat on the ribeye steaks. So these look really good, kind of a small rack, but pretty meaty. I am going to use a binder on these. I don't use a binder very much. I do like to on some beef cuts, especially these. So I've got a little bit of regular yellow mustard as well as some pickle juice, probably about 2 tablespoons of each. So I'm just going to dump a little on the back of the ribs. Whenever you use a binder, whatever you use, olive oil, mustard, you don't need very much. Probably even have a little bit too much on these, but it'll be fine. If you're not a mustard person, I promise you won't even know mustard was used on these when you eat them, but feel free to use anything else. You could use Worcestershire sauce. For our rub today, I hope this is showing up in the camera, we're going to use the Meat Church Holy Cow. I really love Matt Pittman's rubs. I actually haven't used this one yet, so I'm sort of looking forward to using it on these. So we're going to add just an even coating. Try to do it from high up just to get the seasoning even. And these are not super thick, so you want to be careful not to overdo the rub on these. This isn't like a big thick pork butt or a brisket, so you want to go light on the seasoning. All right, so that's the back side. I did go ahead and remove the membrane from these. There's an even thicker membrane on these than regular ribs, pork ribs. So I went ahead and took that off. There are plenty of videos out there showing removing the membrane. I just decided to do it before I went on camera. Basically, if you use a butter knife to slip under the membrane and then a paper towel to help you grip, sometimes it comes off easy, sometimes it takes a little bit of work and it'll break and it's a pain. It just depends on the day of the week and a lot of other variables that I can never figure out, but you can get it done. Some people leave the membrane on. Honestly, I like them both ways. I don't think it matters that much. But the membrane on the beef ribs is actually quite a bit thicker, so definitely pull them off on these. Pull the membrane off. All right, I feel pretty good about that. So we're gonna put these in the fridge, let them marinate in this rub, probably a couple of hours, and then we're gonna put these on the pit barrel cooker. So I'm probably gonna show lighting the pit barrel cooker today and how I do it, so stay tuned for that. So I wanna talk a little bit about how I light my pit barrel cooker. So I just used a tumbleweed, lit it. I've got about a half of one of the small barrels, maybe not even quite a half, of charcoal briquettes. And by the way, if you have a pit barrel or any type of drum smoker, having one of the half-size chimney starters is really handy because you can drop it down in the barrel to pour the charcoal in, and the shorter size makes that a lot easier to do. And after that gets going, and I may not even let every briquette light, I'll bring it up to the pit barrel coal bin, and I've got a paint can that I got from Amazon, unused, and I used tin snips to cut up the sides. I hope you can see that, and just dropped it right down over the charcoal pan handle. So after those coals get lit, I will pour them inside the paint can, which is pretty well centered. Might be a little bit off there to one side, but then it will then light the coals around it gradually and almost use the minion method to light the whole pan. And this will last plenty of time, several hours easily, to cook our beef ribs today. So that's the way I found that works pretty well to light the pit barrel cooker. Because of the way the pit barrel cooker looks, you have to be careful. If you get it really hot and spiking at the beginning, it's really hard to get it to back down. This is the best way I have found to light it, to get a good coal bed burning at the beginning, but not get it too hot at the beginning. So after I pour the coals in there, I will pull the paint can off of the bar and carry it up to the pit barrel cooker and let it start to come up to temperature. Okay, so I've got the charcoal lit in the pit barrel cooker as described. I did misspeak. I moved the charcoal barrel up into the pit barrel cooker before I poured the hot coals in the paint can. I did pull the paint can out. I have got the bottom vent wide open and the lid cracked, letting it come up to temperature. Somewhere around 250 or so, I will start dialing it in. I'd like it to stay in the neighborhood of 275 to 300 for this cook is my goal. If it goes a little above 300, I'm okay with that too. If you're unfamiliar with the pit barrel cooker, there is rebar going through holes on either side, 4 holes, 2 pieces of rebar. That is actually part of the venting system and is necessary for the pit barrel to operate at the temperature that you want to cook a little lower. Now, if you were doing something and you wanted it really hot, grilling burgers or something, then you can remove those, remove the lid, and it can act like a grill and get up there in temperature. But in order to keep it between 275 and 310, the rebar needs to be in place. The bottom vent needs to be set based on your particular altitude above sea level, and the lid needs to be in place. If you don't know anything about a pit barrel cooker, you ought to go to pitbarrel.com. They're great little cookers, a lot of fun to cook on. So I'm going to let this come up to temperature, and we will bring you back when we put our rack of beef ribs on. Okay, the pit barrel's running between 305 and 310, which is great. I'm going to remove the lid. And we're going to put our beef ribs on. So I just pulled these out of the fridge. They've been in there with Meat Church Holy Cow. So I'm just going to put them right in the center. Sometimes you have to remove the rebar depending on the size of the cut of meat that you are cooking. With these I could just get it in there pretty easily. And I'm going to get the lid back on. With the pit barrel or any barrel cooker really, when you take the lid off, you really risk the temperature spiking. So you want to remove the lid and get it put back as quickly as possible. So right back up to around 300 on the temperature. So we're going to leave these go probably a good hour before I even open the lid. But I am going to have a mop ready, and I'll talk about the mop when I come back and we take a look. I do expect these to take several hours at least 4 hours, and then some rest time. Okay, it's been just over an hour and a half since we put the beef ribs on, so I want to go ahead and take a look. I'm going to pull the lid. Oh wow, color is great on these. Hope you can see that on the video. I created a mop sauce to just keep the ribs moist. No recipe for this. I just added some butter, some onion, some garlic, some vinegar, a little barbecue sauce I happen to have in the fridge, and I think that's about it. So I'm just going to use a mop here to keep these moist. I want to be careful not to rub any of the rub off. And I'm going to start doing this now every 20 to 30 minutes. So I won't bring the camera back every time, but I am going to do them about every 20 to 30 minutes. Probably not too far, maybe 45 minutes to an hour from wrapping these, but I'm thinking they're looking great right now, and we'll bring you back soon. Definitely we'll bring you back when we wrap them. So as if there wasn't already enough to love about the pit barrel cooker, we also have a bottle opener. So I'm prepping for the Buckeye game tonight. So I thought oops, sorry about the normal poor videography. But I thought I would do a beer review. Cooker is running about 300 degrees, so it's running perfectly. I've got a Corona Light and some beer salt, which I've already mentioned in a previous video. Gonna throw a little beer salt in my Corona. The beer salt has a lime flavor, so it's perfect for a Corona. And Corona is one of my favorite beers. Light, refreshing, crisp. I love it. It's also better in a bottle as far as I'm concerned. So I have no idea if this was being captured on the camera, but hopefully you can see my Corona with beer salt. Bottle opened by the pit barrel cooker, a jack of all trades, and a great cooker to boot. So if you haven't had a Corona in a while, go get one. They're awesome. And we will be back to check on these beef ribs shortly. Okay, it's been about 2 hours and 15 minutes, something like that. Maybe not quite that long. We're gonna check these out. All right, looking pretty good. We got a little liquid pooling. It's because of the strange shape of these ribs more than anything else. One thing I realized about my mop, I also added some beef broth to it as well as some beer. So that's why it's really loose and liquidy. Again, this isn't a barbecue sauce. It's just something we're using to keep the beef back ribs moist. These are going to be ready to wrap pretty soon. I think I'm going to give them another 30 minutes. And then we're going to get some foil ready. Add a little of the mop to the foil and wrap the ribs and put them back on. So I will bring you back shortly. Okay, I pulled off the beef ribs and it's time to wrap. So definitely getting some good bone pull back there, both sides. Bottom looks great. So I'm gonna put down some mop just to keep some moisture in the foil. And this will be the last, probably won't be. I'll probably use the mop again after unwrapping them. In a little while. Temperatures anywhere from 175 to 190 depending on where you look. It's not easy to take temperature in ribs for sure, so do the best we can. But definitely not tender enough, nowhere close to ready to pull. So I just like to kind of tin it and roll it up. Always be careful with ribs not to poke through like I did there. I should be able to get that covered up though pretty well. And we're actually going to put these meat side down while they're in the foil. So we'll get them back on the pit barrel cooker and we will bring you back when they're done. I'm guessing probably an hour or something like that. So I decided to take a look at these, and lo and behold, they are done. It's only been about a half an hour since I wrapped them. So if you look in there at that, I hope you can see it on the video, but that pullback, really nice. I'm gonna pull these out in the foil for now and put them on this cookie sheet. And then I am just going to put them back on the pit barrel, bone side down, meat side up. I am not going to put any more mop on them right now because they still have plenty of mop from the foil. As a matter of fact, what I will do that'll drip down there on those coals. So I'm gonna let these dry just a little bit and then we'll pull them off. So I will bring you back when we get them inside after a rest. Probably gonna let them rest about 30 minutes or so. Okay, we brought in our beef back ribs. They've been resting for almost 30 minutes. So we're gonna cut into them and see how we did. Well, they're juicy. Really juicy, look really good. Wow. So I think I'm not going to try these on camera, but I think it's time to taste. Holy cow. I hope the family doesn't know these are ready, because I sort of want to eat them all. Think of the best bites of ribeye steak you've ever had. These are good. So grab some beef back ribs from Porter Road or somewhere else. Not hard to do at all. Just be patient and get your temperature right. Thanks for joining Buckeye Barbecue today. I would appreciate it if you would like this video and subscribe to the channel.